Hello, my name is Robin Hassan. I'm responsible for Smartstream's TLM reconciliations premium product. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to talk to you today about the application of AI in the reconciliation space. So before we go on to the topic, a little on Smartstream. We have a really broad range of product portfolios across the financial services spectrum, covering reconciliations, cash management, liquidity management, collateral confirmations, corporate actions, and many more. Software is provided either on-premise or as a hosted service, and where required, BPO is also available. In the last 5 to 10 years, we've really heavily invested in R&D focused on AI and machine learning, and we've been making really quite incredible moves forward with this exciting technology. And today I'll be discussing how we can use these technologies to great effect in the reconciliations business. I think before we start on the AI in reconciliations, let's consider where AI across financial services has been particularly successful. And quite often these are across high risk and high customer interaction points. So to start with, let's look at customer service. We've all seen this. Chatbots are not just used in financial services, they are used across many different industries. But chatbots really changed the game when it came to customer personalization, the availability of a frictionless 24/7 service. It gave consistency to the end user, and it reduces monotonous and repetitive work for humans where false positives and human error could lead to the wrong information being given to consumers. So this has also led to obviously a change in the model where you require fewer staff, but you actually get a better and a longer service, and that can grow with your organization. It's been enormously successful, and of course we see that every day when we're interacting with different services and products. Predictive analytics is a different type of AI, less about interaction, more about prediction. It's looking into historical activity, historical trends, looking to help you provide insight into making decisions around the likes of investment, or on a business decision, looking at trends and analysis. You're looking for that business insight about what has happened. How can I change my operations to become more effective, more efficient, reduce cost, or take on more business? All of those are powered by many AI and ML capabilities. The final one on the list is particularly relevant from Smartstream's perspective. Our cash and liquidity management system provides this at the moment, which is the ability to forecast your liquidity position and be able to manage your funds in a really intelligent way. Again, all based on historical activity and trends. So this category is very successful in helping make really good decisions for the business. AML and fraud prevention, of course, are very much powered by trying to eliminate organised crime and the individuals who fall vulnerable to those attacks. This has been particularly effective, and that's because the way that these characters behave often follows particular patterns of behaviour, and the machine learning and the supervised machine learning can learn from those patterns of behaviour and identify when they're occurring, potentially even when other people do not see them. For example, if a user is logged onto their internet banking, they can be behaving in a certain way, which automatically alerts the bank to maybe block their account and stop transactions from completing. So being able to identify, reports to authorities and to management, and to take immediate action is a huge risk reduction. It's a reputational gain, and it's a much higher quality of service for the consumer. The final one, which is not strictly speaking financial services, but it's tangential, and it's based on the move for many financial services firms into the cloud, is the ability for cloud-based computing to self-monitor and correct and adjust and resize at the point of need. Rather than needing a high volume capacity, the hardware can size and shrink as it requires based on the volume in front of it. That really leads to very cost-effective processing costs. It reduces the fixed cost that you would otherwise have in an on-premise scenario, and it's particularly high value in the cloud scenario. Maybe less so on the on-premise, but this monitoring and self-correction is a particular benefit for both efficiency and cost reasons. So when you look at these four items which have been successful in the industry, what do they have in common? Well, some of them have very much a focus on quality of service, both for the external end consumer, but also internal for management, for business information. They also improve efficiency, so you are not so tied to individuals and specific processes. You're using machine learning to evolve and provide a nice, clean service as part of that embedded forward-thinking approach. There will almost always be a direct or indirect benefit on cost associated with these, and there may be a risk reduction. And also all of these, it's important to say, are not short-term fixes. They are long-term benefits for the organisation. And that's really what we're looking for when we're looking for AI in any financial services, or for that matter, in any application. So moving into how we would look at AI inside reconciliations. Before you take the challenge of understanding where the value is, you really need to understand the landscape. You need to understand the whole operation, what phases, stages, interfaces there are, what priorities need to be managed and processed. And once you've gone through everything from loading to regulatory reporting, you can start to look for identify the opportunities. You're looking for weak points. You're looking for points where efficiency could be improved, or maybe cost is slightly higher. You're looking to reduce risk where you can. So once you've identified that opportunity, you need to measure the likely impact of performing the changes. You execute a few use cases to form your value proposition to ensure that you know what the value is when you develop this piece of improvement. Once you've done that, delivering the value will always have to tick one of these critical aspects. You really want to be replacing or improving a function forever or for the lifetime of that service. So it's important it will either reduce risk, increase efficiency, quality of service, etc. And that allows you to refocus and use your existing resource on something else, which allows you to either grow the business or manage your cost base. So when we're looking at reconciliations, let's look at the overall landscape. And I think it's fair to say whether you're doing Nostro reconciliations, securities positions, derivatives, internal intersystems, the heart of the REX process is the same across all reconciliation systems. So if you look at the key stages, the first is data acquisition. So some of the loading of the data and the onboarding aspects. When you look at this, it's quite often that onboarding and loading of data and managing of the data is quite often the most expensive and costly, time costly part of the process. So that's caused by the multiple sources, multiple formats, multiple versions of those formats, integrating with many different systems, and changing standards. Where, for example, Swift and ISO 20022 is coming through. We have new challenges, and those need to be integrated into the business efficiently and effectively, without affecting anything else. And overall, you need to be able to build reconciliations and test them, validate that they are performing correctly as quickly as possible. So the whole data acquisition and onboarding is certainly a key area we can look at. Next phase, of course, the heart of the processing of a reconciliation system is that evaluation and the reconciliation aspect itself. It identifies and evaluates, it categorizes. You're looking for probably 90% or more for a good reconciliation of automatic matches. Not always possible based on the data you're processing, but certainly you would expect a high number of automated matches on a daily basis. There will normally be a level of manual activity required to tidy up the remainder. That varies a lot, but it could be many thousands of matches per day for a large volume client, maybe where the data quality is not so good. Next part, and probably other than regulatory reporting, the key reason you need to buy a reconciliations product is to identify and categorize your problems, your issues. So you're identifying your exceptions, you're allocating them to the teams, making sure that they can be researched, communicated through internal and external channels, and corrected in a timely fashion to remove your risk from the book. And also, if you need to escalate a risk profile, you've got some high value trades that will not be resolved today, you need to have that mechanism to flag, alert, and manage that with your management team. And finally, in terms of internal audit and compliance and regulatory reports, these are things that just need to be done by the system. Critical to do, and obviously the regulations keep changing and evolving, so something you need to keep on top of. It is also a nice avenue for looking for those trends, the analytics, the business insight, all of which helps you identify areas of the business that you can improve and refine to make a difference. So where are the opportunities that we've just looked at? If you look at the first stage, the data loading, the acquisition of data and the onboarding, which often is the slowest, often the most complex aspect. I think you're looking at things like using AI to simplify the ingestion of data. You're looking to have it understand files of data you've not seen before and work out how those two files fit together, or multiple files fit together. You're removing the manual aspect of that, and you're identifying things like data types automatically, all of which removes time from the end user, and it makes more accurate the process of bringing data into the system. The advent of AI technologies has also significantly simplified the ability to onboard data formats like PDF and more complex formats that traditionally would have required more complex ETL engagements. So this is certainly an area we see where PDFs are providing certain information. We can actually now start to look to take that in more automatically without a heavy project to extract and scrub that data. It's also possible to use AI to predict your matching criteria, which data attributes are going to be ones which will drive the quality into the business, which ones are going to be the key ones for your matching criteria and for your evaluation phase. That certainly can be done through your either supervised or unsupervised matching criteria. In terms of the quality of data you load into the system, it's quite often that if you can improve data at the point of load, it will both improve the quality and the outcomes of your matching, and it will also improve the quality of your reporting further down the line. So taking an example of the product or a broker or counterparty lookup, it is quite often that you don't have the data in the system to identify who that is as the data loads, but you can learn that from existing information in your system, which means you can enrich that at the point of load and get all the benefits that brings with it. So certainly that on a machine learning basis, a supervised learning basis, we could look to enrich data when it hits the system to improve that quality. On the matching side, absolutely number one for us will be to looking at things like observational learning, looking at how users are grouping records and performing their manual match functions. And we're finding patterns using our machine learning tools. In Smartstream, we have AI affinity service, which is able to take in the historic data and really understand and learn and produce the AI models that we can then deploy into our straight-through processing matching engine. Key benefits of this, not outside of the pure identification of the match itself, is that you start to be able to move away from key man dependency. So you don't need individuals that have the knowledge of how these matches are put together manually. That can be more now of an oversight task. That knowledge can be automatically learned from the data, and that removes that dependency. And what that does is it frees up the risk, and potentially with things like COVID and working from home and maybe changing of positions and people moving jobs, you don't lose that integrity, you don't lose that knowledge. The knowledge is built into the process. And most importantly, the machine learning will learn, it will evolve with the data as it changes. So we're reducing the maintenance of the matching rules on an ongoing basis, which is a significant saving. And this is one aspect of machine learning that we're most interested in at the moment, certainly with Smartstream's TLM Reconciliations Premium. On the exception side, absolutely, there is a lot of scope and lots of activity here. Being able to identify the type of exception, the type of break, allocating it to the best team immediately, all save time, all reduce risk to make sure that you're going to fix that problem as quickly as possible. We are able to forecast how long we expect this exception type to take to resolve, which means you can prioritize your queues more effectively. You can focus on things that are more critical. But ultimately, we would be looking to have a state where AI is able to actually investigate an action, a resolution. It will instruct what to do and instruct the correction action, so that exception can both be resolved and the trades can be corrected, or the static data can be adjusted in order that the issue disappears. So the ultimate goal of AI in the exception space will absolutely be to perform the full resolution for exceptions that can be resolved automatically. From a reporting standpoint, I think the insight into the data is the key benefit here. I think there's certainly some significant benefit from understanding the trends, the potential benefits of working with some brokers where data quality is high versus brokers where data quality is low. Being able to see that painted out in the analytics gives you that information where you can make those good decisions. And it also, because we're using the AI at the front of the system to standardize the data modeling, that makes it easier for us to build out the regulatory reporting from that space that we need to do for the auditors. Final point I wanted to touch on is looking particularly at the use of supervised machine learning to predict matches. How do we approach the challenge of allowing the AI matches to be fully automatic? We know that the business and certainly some audit aspects will be scrutinized heavily on machine learning recommendations, particularly when it's a financial certainty situation. These matches should always traditionally would have been checked by a particular rule or by a user. And you can't allow that to go straight through with machine learning until you've passed a number of quality gates. So what we need to be able to do is to firstly make sure that everything is transparent. Everybody can see all of the decision points that have been made. We want to be able to make sure we can have an extra layer of quality on top of the predictions that we get from the machine learning service. We want to be able to ensure basic rules are evaluated so that we know that everything is going to be of a certain quality. So, for example, the combination of items and so on. We certainly need the ability to have users, and in the first instance, to review and approve these predictions. And part of that is critical that you show exactly how those groups have been formed. And I've got a screenshot here of our product, which is showing which pieces of reference data the AI service identified as being the reason why these trades went together. And you could have many of these different data attributes shown for the same match, and there could be different combinations of them, but they will always be visible through the user interface to either the user who wants to confirm the match or to the auditor later in the day or later in the future, because they need to understand why that happened. And once that user and the business gain confidence that these recommendations are both high quality and consistent, they can flip these into fully automatic. So they no longer need to approve these requests of these predictions. They can remove that manual touch point and get the full benefit from machine learning in the matching space on the reconciliations process. And that's the ultimate goal here for the machine learning. So thank you for your time. If you have any further questions on anything, please feel free to get in contact with us through our website at smartstreamstp.com. Many thanks.